Hi, I'm Lara, and this is Short-Term Trilogy, and today I will be reviewing Cinder by Marissa Meyer. So, this book was all the rage a couple years ago, and I had it recommended to me by some people, and honestly, it just sounded interesting to me, so I thought I would check it out. And let's see if it's really worth the hype. Now, before I get into the specifics, I'm going to read the blurb for you. Humans and androids crowd the raucous streets of New Beijing. A deadly plague ravages the population. From space, a ruthless lunar people watch, waiting to make their move. No one knows that Earth's fate hinges on one girl. Cinder, a gifted mechanic, is a cyborg. I'm not a fan of how that sentence was written. Anyway, she's a second-class citizen with a mysterious past, reviled by her stepmother and blamed for her stepsister's illness. But when her life becomes intertwined with the handsome Prince Kai's, she suddenly finds herself at the center of an intergalactic struggle and a forbidden attraction. Caught between duty and freedom, loyalty and betrayal, she must uncover secrets about her past in order to protect her world's future. Ta-da! Besides that one sentence, this sounds better than the book I got. First of all, she doesn't uncover anything. A scientist dude literally tells her every single twist in the book. So, yeah. Also, though, I actually hadn't read this blurb before, and this says more than I knew going into the book. I did not know her stepsister was going to be ill, and I actually hadn't read it before I wrote my review, so I avoided mentioning that. But apparently I could have. Oh well. Anyway, this book had a lot of things going for it that I love. Cinderella is my favorite Disney princess, and the movie Ever After is my favorite romance movie, and that movie is a Cinderella retelling. So even though I personally am not the type of person who'd be like, I'm gonna read a fairy tale retelling, like I don't read things just because it's a fairy tale retelling. I don't really feel either way about it. Cinderella is my favorite princess, so it had that going for it. And honestly, I do tend to like the fairy tale retellings that I read. The second thing it had going for it was I love genre mashups. I think it's fun to twist things, to mix things that aren't supposed to go together, and I love that sort of creativity. And this book is a sci-fi, fantasy, dystopian, romance, fairy tale retelling, a mashup of 5 things, and I think that is freaking awesome. And honestly, I really like all those genres separately, let alone smashed together. So I was thinking I would enjoy this book. Unfortunately, I was wrong. I also feel like I should address the pandemic in this book because this book has a pandemic, and honestly, I didn't let that affect my reading experience. I was able to suspend my disbelief. However, this book has a pandemic with 100% mortality rate, and according to Johns Hopkins, in the US at least, the mortality rate for what we're going through is 2.5%. And according to the World Health Organization, in the US, it's 1.8%. So this book has a mortality rate of 100%, and there's not any quarantine, and it takes place in the future. Now, I could suspend my disbelief because historically there has been higher percent mortality rate diseases in the past, and there hasn't been as strict of a quarantine as we have now, especially before technology. But this also takes place in the future, in China, or New Beijing, which is like all the Asian countries are smashed together, which I'm sure Asia loves that. But New Beijing is the capital, so it's essentially China. China just took over Asia. And China put people in apartments to starve to death if they got COVID. But in this one, the ruler of the empire just goes around in public by himself, like while a deadly disease with 100% mortality rate is going on, and it's not very believable. Honestly, the disease thing was relevant to the plot in a lot of ways, but it wasn't relevant to how the characters went throughout their day. It affected, like, the whole story crux has to do with Cinder and finding a cure and her sister being sick, and it's all relevant to it, but it doesn't affect how Cinder goes throughout her life, the prince goes throughout his life. No one is really that worried about it. So I definitely don't think this book would have done as good after 2020. So I'm glad it was published a lot sooner, because I'm happy for Mercer Meyer being successful. Even though I didn't enjoy this book, I'm happy for other authors' success. So I'm glad this came out before 2020, because I really don't think as many people would enjoy this now. However, that I was able to suspend my disbelief on that. That wasn't what caused any of my negative opinions about that book. It's not very believable given what I know now, which Marissa Meyer wouldn't have known then. I mean, she could have thought it through more. I actually saw a review that took place before 2020 where someone pointed out that no one was really reacting to this deadly disease. So it is poor writing. Like, she didn't think of it at all. Like, it's 100% mortality rate. Like, the book says there's a quarantine, but the prince is just going through the streets like nothing. Like, especially like the highest up dude. Like, I could believe Cinder, who's mechanic, just trying to scrape by. She would go out to work. That makes sense to me. The prince, not so much. But I digress. The point is, that won't affect my rating of this book. However, because I thought I'd let you know, because you might not want to read this book because of that, or you might want to wait a while before picking it up if you haven't read it yet. But yeah, ignoring that, now the book starts off introducing this cool, gritty dystopian with a pandemic where cyborgs are treated as second-class citizens and used against their will to find the cure. It's dark and I'm really into it. I really like dystopians and I really like gritty worlds, so I was all on board. And I really enjoyed Cinder's perspective as a cyborg and how the technology in her mind affected how she viewed the world and her narration. And I was also interested in her home life. So the beginning of this book had me on board. I was super interested. Even with like people not really quarantining, I was still on board. I thought it would be a cool book. Now let's discuss what went wrong for me. Number 1, Cinder is boring, but also the most special person to ever be special. I originally loved Cinder as a protagonist. I loved seeing how technology affected her brain and her narration, and how being a cyborg affected how she experienced the world. It was really cool and compelling, until I realized that being a cyborg was the closest thing Cinder had to a personality trait. She kind of just wants to leave her abusive family and is awkward around the prince, and that's about all there is to her. To be honest, she didn't even feel like she liked the prince that much. She felt like she lacked an emotional investment in her own story. Well, she was sad about her sister being sick, but those moments were too far and in between. This story had two perspectives, Cinder's and the prince. And Cinder was the one I expected to the main character, but her storyline kind of just devolved into her and the prince always being together and their romance, whereas the prince was the one who actually had a storyline going on separate from their relationship, and I was not a fan of what was done. Her only defining trait is that she lies a lot, but even then, she doesn't choose when she lies. The doctor is the one who starts pulling all the lies out, and she just goes along with it. So she isn't even actively choosing to lie. She's just following someone else's lead, and it's not very interesting. She doesn't make a very compelling protagonist. It seems the book tries to make up for her lack of personality by giving her a bunch of random special labels, but if anything, it makes it worse. These don't change anything, and in fact, it shows a clear misunderstanding of what makes Cinderella's stories so enjoyable and what draws people to them. The point of Cinderella is that she's just an average girl, and yes, she's really beautiful, but Cinderella is able to get out of her situation because she's kind and she has hope and doesn't give up. And this book is like, oh, actually, this Cinderella's the chosen one in 5 different ways. Like, this character, Cinder, is literally every special thing that could happen. Now, the first thing kind of special about Cinder is she's a cyborg, but that works with the Cinderella story. Because being a cyborg, first of all, having your body parts missing and having metal attached to them Definitely fits with the whole down on her luck, always covered in ash or always covered in like grease as a mechanic and having metal body parts because like your life's been that rough. It fits the Cinderella story, and I'm cool with her being a cyborg. In fact, that made her more compelling at the beginning. However, being a cyborg couldn't carry her as a protagonist, and then all the other special things about her were getting a bit much. In fact, Cinder has to be the most cliche, most special protagonist I've read in a long time. Now, I'm going to go into the next 3 special things. Yes, 3 special things about her that make her essentially a special chosen one or whatever. So if you don't want to hear them, I'll let you know that this is spoilers, and it will be, I'll mark the timestamp, and also in the bar below, this will be the spoiler section, and you can just skip to the next using the timestamps on the bar or the description. But to get into the quick gist before I get into the spoilers, the first special thing about Cinder happens at the beginning and is necessary to the plot, so I can accept it. It doesn't break the story. But the next thing feels not even used that well in the story, and again, it makes sense plot-wise, but it's kind of like, okay, I wish like there was more of an internal exploration of how this affects her. So it was done poorly, but it's a little bit. And then the third one is just straight up cliche, I don't like it at all, wish it was not included. Let's get into them. Spoilers now. So besides being a cyborg, the second special thing about Cinder is that she is immune to the disease that kills everyone. Now again, I can accept this because this is the crux of the story and it's setting everything up. So it is very special of her, but that's the point of the story. She's a protagonist because she's immune. Like, there's a certain amount at the beginning of the story, someone gets picked because, like, they would just pick a different person than be the protagonist if she wasn't the one immune. So, you know, suspension of disbelief. The third one, though, is that she is a lunar. Now, in some ways, this does make her less special because apparently all lunars are immune to it, so it makes sense. However, this wasn't really set up before, so it's not like it was foreshadowed or is like, oh, that makes sense. It's more like, oh, you're a lunar, which makes sense because all of them are immune. And it's like, oh, okay, it's a bit pushing it, and to be honest, I feel like this didn't break the story, but it wasn't done well because there isn't an internal exploration of how this makes Cinder feel. Cinder hates lunars, and so finding out she is one should have more of a impact on her internal struggle, except Cinder has no personality, is completely flat, so there is no internal struggle. So it's done poorly, and I wasn't a fan. It doesn't have any emotional resonance to me as a reader or her character, besides she has one small spout of denial and then gets over it. Then the fourth special thing is that she's the secret princess who's heir to the lunar throne. Yay! I was hoping that it would be one of the other protagonists from the later books in this series, probably Scarlet, because I didn't think the other two could be it. But nope, it's Cinder, which I am not a fan of at all. First of all, as I said before, this defeats the point of a Cinderella retelling. She's supposed to be a normal girl who's in a terrible home life, who gets out of it because she's a good person and doesn't give up hope. But in this one, she's the chosen one, special princess heir to the throne. And I'm like, this is... It's not that I can't read a Cinderella retelling where Cinderella is actually a princess. It's just that the secret princess trope isn't my favorite because it's like, oh, the protagonist is just the most special person to ever be special. Yay! And then she doesn't have any personality. You can do this trope, but if your character has no personality, and it's the third special twist thing about that character, it's too much. Like, if you have, oh, this is one twist special thing, then another, 3 is too much, especially if it's like the cliche one, and I'm not a fan. Moving on. Number 2, the boring romance takes over the plot. The reason I decided to talk about the romance before I talked about the prince's perspective is because the romance takes over Cinder's entire plotline. I didn't realize until listening to this book how important seeing Cinderella's home life is to me when it comes to this type of story. Cinder has a very interesting home life and in fact feels a bit more modern, with her being forced to earn her family's entire income by going to work. And this is all despite Cinder being a minor. And I found this really interesting, and I wanted to read more about it, especially because one of her sisters is younger than her and clearly really likes Cinder, and there's a cute little robot who Cinder lives with, who the stepmother keeps or adoptive mother, in this case, adoptive mother keeps threatening to sell for parts. And then, minor spoiler, you can skip the red label if you want, but Cinder's family, when her little sister gets the plague, they blame Cinder for it and sell her to the cyborg draft, which is really awful of them. And that, again, creates tension. And I wanted to see the aftermath. I wanted to see the repercussions and seeing her dealing with that. I wanted to see her struggle to hide how she's planning to escape, sneaking out when they aren't looking, to work on the car that she's using to escape. I wanted to feel involved in her life. Instead, that aspect of her life is forgotten. Instead, every chapter about Cinder is either her and the prince with their awkward, not interesting romance, or her and the doctor, where the doctor's revealing one of the many plot twists about Cinder that makes her so special. And honestly, I didn't find the romance appealing at all. The prince just is a very nice guy who likes Cinder, and he's friendly to her, and then he starts to like her pretty quickly, and he asks her out, and Cinder's just always awkward around him. So he asked her to the ball, and she's like, no, because that's when she plans to escape. And then later on, the doctor tells her she can't go because plot twist. And he keeps asking her, and she's like, no. And it's to the point where it's kind of annoying. It's like, dude, take a hint. She doesn't want to go on to the ball with you. And then later he comes to where she works and he brings her a present and he's like, can I at least take you to lunch? And she's like, no. And the thing is, she wants to go to lunch with him, and it's because her foot's currently not attached and he doesn't know she's a cyborg. But all these times she rejects him, and this dude keeps asking her out, and it's just she doesn't even seem that interested in him. The book did give excuses for why she couldn't go with him. It was never like, I don't like him. But also, I never really got the impression she really liked him. And he only really liked her because she was the only female character he interacted with who wasn't psychotic. So, great reason to fall in love with each other. Really compelling. And there is supposed to be one steamy scene where they almost kiss, but I didn't really care about it at all. Honestly, Cinder just feels like a wet blanket who mirrors the other character's action and feelings. So the doctor's lying, she lies. The prince likes her and wants to kiss her, she wants to kiss him. It's not that she actually feels these things on her own fruition. She just mirrors other characters. She's so boring. And spoiler, they do kiss at the end. And he isn't into it, which is kind of funny. And that was on purpose by the author, so that's not a flaw. But I just thought that was funny. And I'm not into you guys kissing either. Relatable. But yeah, this romance is so boring and lukewarm, and the fact that it takes over Cinder's entire plotline kills the book for me. Now let's get to point number 3. The prince is black. The prince in this book gets a perspective which I find a shame because I found him incredibly dull. The prince in this book is essentially just a friendly, nice person who likes Cinder immediately because she's not psychotic and she's female. At least that's the only reason I could get why he liked her. Also, at the beginning of the book, he's all upset watching his dying father, the emperor, in his bed dying. And I found that kind of unlikable because the prince is just thinking how he doesn't want to be there and he wish he didn't have to be there and he'd rather, not have to see his father like this. But then also within his own empire, whenever people's family members get sick, they get taken from them and put in quarantine where they die alone and their family never sees them again and doesn't get to say goodbye. And I was kind of like, wow, your family is preventing people from seeing their dying loved ones, but then you're acting all bitter and ungrateful that you have to be around when your dad's dying. I get watching a loved one die is hard, but I was kind of judging him at that moment. I was like, wow, you seem a bit like you lack awareness of your situation and how you got it better than everyone else, but okay. And that one thing isn't enough to ruin a character for me. I like characters with flaws, but that's the most strongly I've ever felt about him in the entire book. And then the rest of the book, I was kind of just bored of him. He was boring. His personality is he's friendly, he likes good people, and he dislikes bad people. Yeah. Number 4, the politics of this book don't make sense and I don't care about them. So normally I like fictional politics and this book focuses on it a lot, but I did not enjoy how it was written in this book. And the main reasons why I don't like the fictional politics is one, they were from Kai's perspective, who I didn't really like him that much and preferred Cinder. So the politics was associated with Kai, who I would rather not be reading about. I'd want to read about her. And second, the fictional politics was at the expense of the human element. So first of all, I was thinking more of like a sci-fi politics, but this was like a purely fantasy one. And the politics was kind of the majority of the book after a while. It was like, oh, the evil queen is evil and we don't like her. And I was like, I wanted to read about like the human element. I wanted a compelling romance I actually cared about. I wanted to see Cinder struggle through her home life and the struggles of living in a plague. But since the politics was written in a way where it was more focused on Kai interacting with other political leaders, it made it feel more distant. I like fictional politics and seeing how they affect the humans living within them. I like the human element of it, but this book did it in a more distant, oh, we're negotiating way, and I didn't care about it. Also, the fictional politics in this book were way too simple to warrant the amount of time they took up. And also, I don't think they make that much sense. So essentially all you need to know is there are people on the moon in a kingdom called the Lunar Kingdom, and they're called Lunars, and they have the ability to hypnotize people, but only in person. So they can make you see what they want to see, or they could even control you against your will. That's it. That's all you need to know. Oh, and also that there's a plague and the lunar people want to declare war every 5 seconds on Earth. And Earth is like, don't declare war on us. And yeah, that's about it. And the whole book, all the individual kingdoms or empires or countries on Earth are acting like if the moon people attack, Earth will be destroyed and they'll easily lose. And I'm just like, you guys are like all of Earth, and I know what people on Earth have, and you're telling me that the US, all of Europe, all of South America, all of Africa, all of Asia, all of Australia, New Zealand, like all the places I forgot, but all of those locations have no way to defend themselves against the moon and will easily lose. Like, I couldn't buy it. Like, everyone's like, oh, I'm so scared of the moon. And I'm like, yeah, well, wow, one kingdom against all of planet Earth. So scared. And the book could kind of play it off as Earth suffering from a plague and they're recovering from World War IV, which the Moon Kingdom is not. So the moon is actually in a better state to declare war. That would be a bit more reasonable, but that's not really like... It can kind of pull that off, I guess. But then you learn the moon people's secret weapon. And if you don't want to hear it, it's a minor spoiler, so mute until the word spoilers away, because it's just one sentence I'm going to say. But the secret weapon of the moon people is wolf people. They just have wolf people. I'm like, this is an interplanetary war? How does wolf people help? Like, you have to take a spaceship to get to Earth. Wouldn't spaceships or missiles be more useful than ground troops who happen to be part wolf? Like, how, like, even then, like, fighter jets would be more useful. Like, people who can fly things, not just wolf people. Spoiler over. But the thing is, the majority of the politics in the book is just the evil queen being evil and wanting to marry the prince who hates her, so that she can have more power, but then the prince hating her, but feeling like maybe he should marry her for peace. That's all the politics. Which could actually be pretty interesting if either of them were compelling characters. Number 5. The ball felt like a crazy soap opera. While the beginning of the book had a compelling cyborg's perspective, a tragic home life, and a gritty dystopian world, and the middle of the book had a boring romance and boring politics, the end of the book just went full soap opera. It wasn't amazing, but it was crazy and fun, and I enjoyed reading about a ball that crazy. However, since I didn't care about the plot or characters, I didn't enjoy it enough to want to continue the series. it was like, oh, this is interesting at least. Honestly, the main emotion the ball evoked for me was secondhand embarrassment for Cinder, because dang, like everything that could go wrong went wrong, and it was so bad. Honestly, I do appreciate the mix-up, how a lot of versions of the ball, Cinderella's just the most beautiful and everything goes right, but she has to leave. This one was like, nah, she's a mess. However, the interactions between Cinder and the prince were so cringy, and I still don't know why anyone ships them, because this was the most interesting interactions they had, and they didn't. Okay. And the cringe isn't an issue, but it was the cringiest kiss I've ever read in my life. And again, that's not necessarily a flaw with the book, but I felt the need to mention it because dang, that cringe. I will say though, the last paragraph of the book was really good. Like, that was a great way to end the book. Like, dang, the writing for that last paragraph, 10 out of 10. And also the end of the book, I will say, felt more like the vibe I got at the beginning with that gritty survival dystopian world tone, whereas the whole middle of the book and most of the end really lacks that. And that's what I found appealing at the beginning. But yeah, so clearly I think Cinder is overrated and I didn't really like it at all. So yeah, I don't plan on reading the second book. Let me know your thoughts below though. If you liked the book, I would love to hear what you enjoyed about it. Sorry that I trashed your favorite book if you like it. That's just me. I'm happy for you if you did like it though. Anyway though, let me know all your thoughts down below. If you agree, disagree, if you've never read it, if you plan on reading it, please let me know everything. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video and I'll see you later.